We find ourselves today in Akwesasne, the St. Regis Indian Reservation, with possibly one of my favoriteest people on the planet. This man has just moved back to the reservation from Nebraska, Shadra, Nebraska, and the Wounded Knee Project out west. I'd like to introduce you, Thomas, on the edge of the village. The pronunciation is? And he is obviously of the Iroquois Nation, Mohawk tribe, and clan?
Wolf Clan.
Wolf Clan. Mm-hmm. Now, I had 7 questions for you, Tom, if you don't mind. You've already given me your name and the nation and tribe. In your opinion, where do we all come from?
From here at Akwesasne, we come from hundreds and thousands of generations of life in this region. Northern Adirondacks, Southern Adirondacks. This is our original homeland, and we're fortunate to have been able to stay here.
And this is optional, Tom. What has been the best moment of your life?
The best moment of my life, I'd have to say, was the Trail of Broken Treaties. Back in election week of 1972, 800 Indians took over the Bureau of Indian Affairs headquarters in Washington, D.C., and I was on the steering committee where I met my wife of 40 years now, and that was the best moment of my life.
Wow. This is really optional, Tom. What has been the worst moment of your life?
I've had many near-death experiences, from ironworking across the country to conflicts and confrontation. And the worst moment had to have been my near-death experience during the Wounded Knee occupation of 1973. I went out there with the White Roots of Peace traveling group from Akwesasne. We trashed our schedule from university to university and went to Pine Ridge during the 3rd day of this 71-day occupation of Wounded Knee. And during that while, I was a newspaper reporter for Akwesasne Notes, that time, a major newspaper, and spent 36 days inside the Wounded Knee compound during that confrontation. Why, early March, there were 150 Iroquois from New York State showed up in support of the occupiers. And in Porcupine, 7-8 miles north of Wounded Knee, where they gathered, I got on the back of a car hood and updated events and what's going on. And I never thought that, but the police were recording me, taking pictures, and Mr. Wilson, the bad guy on the scene, the cause of the confrontation, had me arrested. Took me to Pine Ridge Jail, standing room only, and the guy said, "Well, you're charged with being a non-Oglala on the Oglala reservation. It was an exclusion order, and they're going to take you to the line 2 miles south to White Clay, Nebraska, free you, and say if you come back, it's going to be more this and that." And so 1:30 in the morning, they took me to court. Red Tibbetts was the judge and found me guilty and asked me if I had anything to say, and I started saying yes. Okay, that's fine. It don't make any difference. You're guilty. Told the police, take him to the line. Well, they took me up into the Badlands, hour and a half north of Pine Ridge, and dropped me off in the middle of a blizzard, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I only had a light nylon wind jacket, and it was bitter cold and a blizzard, and I was so cold I wandered off the road and hit the fence line is how I realized I was off the road. I was getting, it was the most difficult experience of my life. I was rescued by a team of 6 Jewish attorneys, Bill Consular, Mark Lane, Larry Leventhal, 6 of them that loaded me in and took me to Rapid City. That was a near-death experience for me and changed my gut feeling about what was going on at that confrontation. Either it was a genuine, full-fledged revolution or a recurring food fight, and looked more and more like a food fight, and it interested me so intensely that I stayed out there not 40 days, but 40 years to remedy the conditions, the occurrences, the circumstances of such violence against one another in Indian country.
Wow. Incredible. In the time that you spent on Mother Earth, what lessons has she taught you?
The lesson primarily has been to relate more directly with Mother Earth and with all of the life going on in a positive way that's going to give you traction to do more and different things on behalf of the environment and the water and the land. Our work has to be one of defense for life to continue. The major lesson has been to prepare for coming conditions. We have heard of the prophecies across North America from Indian country about the direction this society is headed, that we trash the earth, the environment, poison the water. It's going to have the same effect on us and our generations oncoming. That has led us into these fights against the uranium mining companies in northwest Nebraska and the southern Black Hills in South Dakota. Go back next month, August 15th, for the next round of hearings before the nuclear regulatory judges over the contentions we have been admitted before the judges for trial. And this is another step in this 7 years intervention against the company's license renewal. For cause, they polluted the reservation already. It's already done. It's a permanent debasement of the water underneath the reservation and affecting the people, the future, and just everything. We have to be engaged, active, and in strong position for life to continue.
Now, in your opinion, what advice do you have for everyone on planet Earth?
Again, the advice is to do all we can to prepare for coming conditions. We have to depend on the land, the produce we can grow from it, and feed more and more people organic, healthy food to reverse the onslaught of diabetes and other sicknesses that are taking over not only this reservation, but reservations across North America. The poverty is endemic in many, many places. Pine Ridge being singularly surrounded and embedded with intergenerational poverty. Just last week, we heard of a nephew was killed by a baseball bat in a party involving methamphetamine, and they took a baseball bat to our 27-year-old nephew, Ted Red Cloud, and beat him to death for no reason than an argument based on this meth journey, high, whatever it was. It's devastating by the week to people on ground zero on these Indian reservations.
And the fact that your brother Louis told me while I was out there visiting you folks, in the town, there's how many people in the village? He said there were 13,000, was there?
Yeah.
And how many jobs were there for 13,000 people? There was like 141 jobs.
Yeah. That's the
so
problem.
When you talk about poverty, it isn't in some foreign country.
It's in our backyard. It's one of America's dirty little secrets because it's ignored. It's not able to be dealt with on the government program level. It's something that has to do with the people, how they relate to each other, to how they exercise their spirituality. I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, the Episcopal Church on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation closed 9 parishes because nobody is going to church anymore. They're all out back in the creek bottomlands sundancing. Last year on Pine Ridge, there were 83 sundances altogether. They should have left the Indians alone 100 years ago to continue their culture and society the way they had it.
Yeah.
But it was declared criminal. All of the ceremonies were forbidden by the Code of Indian Offenses, 1883. It set forth expressly to criminalize anything formally associated with armed hostilities against the U.S. government, and left it to the local Indian agent to administer, interpret, and so they criminalized everything. Well, you take the heart of the people out and you give them welfare in return and booze along the way, and pretty soon you have a social disintegration, dismantling, and confusion that lasts and lasts through generations. The result is the poverty, the dire statistics we see not only on Pine Ridge, but many, many other reservations across North America.
So Tom, tell me, where do you think we go from here?
We develop our spiritual foundations. We have to find the ways to reinforce, bring about, and enjoy the community culture that we had all this while. We maintained our culture here at this place and many others by maintaining our relationships with one another. How we've done it locally is by the trade of ironwork across generations going back 150 years. The men stay together, work together, bring the paycheck home at weekends, and that's been the same pattern of our life from the times of the lumberjacking, the hunting parties, the war parties, all the way back into the fog of history. The men have stayed together to make a living, to survive. It's still going on. It's why we have the community you see here now at Akwesasne.
Well, Tom, I have so looked forward to this moment to interview you because we've talked so many times out west and in the east, whatever.
Right.
And crazy enough, I never had the brains to, record any of these times we've talked. So I appreciate this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.